Good morning from Dubai. My name is Sharad Agarwal, and I am the founder of onlywebinars.com. I am pleased to welcome you to today's webinar, Crisis Premiership of Time. I want to thank Brigadier Sushil Bhasin for accepting my invitation to share his wisdom with all of us. I think the topic of today's webinar is very appropriate. Post-COVID, we have all had to reinvent ourselves in the way we work and indeed in the way we live. Charles Darwin said it best. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. The good news is that people who have adapted to the new reality are surfing the wave. An example that comes to my mind is of one of my favorite brands called Brooks Brothers. When they saw a dip in sales of formal shirts and suits, they quickly pivoted and launched an extensive range of loungewear. And guess what? Today, their fastest selling products are shorts and pajamas. I want to quote Charles Darwin once again when he said, "A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life." The other important fallout of this crisis has been that people are now putting a premium on their time. While time is free, it is priceless. How we invest our time will decide our future. I had a look at the registrations for this webinar, and we have a truly global audience. We have participants from Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and the Far East. You can use the chat feature on your screen to let us know where you are based. Let me now introduce to you Gautam Ganglani, who will moderate today's webinar. Gautam is the founder of Right Selection and is no stranger to Dubai. For over 20 years, Gautam has closely worked with world-renowned authors and global thought leaders like Marshall Goldsmith, Ron Kaufman, and Jack Canfield, and has expanded his business operations from Dubai to Mumbai in 2019. Gautam will pose your questions to Brigadier Bhasin after his presentation. So keep your questions coming using the Q&A tab and the chat feature on your screen. Now it's time for me to hand over to you, Gautam.
Thank you very much, Sharad, for that very warm introduction. On behalf of onlywebinars.com and Right Selection, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you who've joined us for this virtual session today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, a dear friend, professional international speaker and author. He's been 34 years in the Army, a corporate trainer for over 15 years, delivered over 600 programs. In the current climate, in the last 4 months, delivered over 100 virtual events. He is the author of 6 books. His best-selling book is $1 Million Second, which is published by CNBC. That speaks leaps and bounds of his credibility, both as an author and speaker. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Brigadier Sushil Bhasin. Thank you. Over to you, Brigadier.
Thank you very much, Gautam, for that wonderful introduction. I wish to thank Sharad Agarwal and Gautam Ganglani for this platform. I think it's a great opportunity. Hi, Dubai. I'm so happy to be there, although I know we are an audience from all over the world. at least a part of that world. And it is a great pleasure to be particularly focused on Dubai, which is a place I love. Last 2 years, I was wanting to be in Dubai, but it is only Gautam who gave me the first opportunity to be there for a week in February. And I just loved the place. I loved the people. So thank you very, very much for this opportunity. I'm also very grateful to each one of you because you are the people who love themselves. Because it's only people who love themselves have a quest to learn, have a quest to self improve and develop themselves. And if you have chosen willingly and happily to invest 3,600 seconds of your precious time today, I think you are great people. And I really say thank you to you and a big salute to all of you. Friends, today I'm going to be talking about a very important subject. But before that, can I ask you all to do a little exercise? Now, I'll not be able to see you, but I believe that because you are great learners, you will do exactly what I'm telling you. So I want you to have your hands up here, right, with your palms facing you. And I'm going to ask you to come down like this with a little breathe out, which will be a little snip from your nose. Okay. And in yoga, it is called Bhastrika. But when Tony Robbins workshop, he said grab. So what he said was, whatever is going to be there in the next 1 hour, I'll grab, I'll grab. So you're going to do that with an energizer and it's a breathing exercise. So, okay. So you're going to do it 5 times and I want you to do like this. You know, that sniffing noise must come and you must feel that. Okay, ready, go. 5 times. Grab, 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 grab. Thank you very much. If I asked you, what were you doing right now? What were you doing right now? Can you please put in the chat box, what did you do right now? What did you do right now? What is this exercise? So I'm not getting any responses, but I'm sure you'll say breathe. And my question is, were you breathing before this exercise? Of course you were. But did you get up in the morning and shake hands with somebody? Of course, now Corona, not shake hands, but say, hello, are you breathing well today? Or do you go and tell people, oh, today I'm breathing very well? We never say that. But yet we know that that's the most important thing that keeps us alive. The moment we stop breathing, we are not living, we are dead. And yet we don't talk about it. Guys, similarly, time is such a subject, we are conscious about it. We know it happens. We know that it is a vital resource. We know it is the most precious resource, but we willingly let it go. We are so particular about our money. We put it in our wallet. We go and put it in the bank. We want to invest it to be able to get returns out of it. We know that when you don't earn your money or money goes away, like a lot of people in COVID have lost their money or lost their jobs, etc., you all know that you will come back in some time. You'll get that money back. But will you get your time back? No, not at all. Yet we don't respect it. We invest money, but we spend time. From today, can you stop spending time? Because your mind, your subconscious mind is sensitive to the words you use. So from today, no spending of time, because the moment you say, I spent 30 hours, 30 minutes with him, you expected that time to go away, diminish into a zero. Spending is related to an expense which goes away. So from today, when you spend some time, consciously say, I invest 30 minutes with you. That's why I said, thank you for investing your 30 minutes. Why? Because I promise you a high return on that investment. So without any further ado, let me share my screen and start with the presentation. Right? So here we go. So today I am going to be talking about crisispreneurship of time. And what it means is when you skillfully and consciously invest the minimum amount of time, and that's what an entrepreneur does. He invests the minimum resources and aims at the highest possible return. So as a crisispreneur, that means you are a person who's conscious that in crisis, I have to be a little more vigilant. I have to be more alert. I have to be on my toes. So I will invest the minimum amount of time and generate maximum possible profit through productivity. Okay, how many of you resonate with this? Please write in the chat box me if you think that that is something that really, really resonates with you. Now, just before we start, a few, I say wow, which is way of working. I don't call them rules. First thing is, I want you to empty your cups. I'm sure you know a lot about time. Obviously, you know. But today, can we focus on what you don't know? And I promise you, I'm going to be telling you a lot of things that they are not a Google away. They are not a run-of-the-mill time management things. It is not what you've been hearing all the time. I'm going to be talking of things that I'm sure, at least few of them, if not all, you would have probably never heard. And even if you heard, you'll probably get another perspective. And today, all of us are going to collect together and create a new perspective of time. How many of you are prepared to do that? Say me. Me means I am prepared to spend that effort. I'm going to be focusing on that effort of creating a multiple effect, a multiple effect of time perspectives. And we're going to look at time in a different way. At the end of this 60 hours presentation, 60 minutes, sorry, you will be certainly looking at time in a way that you never thought before. That's my promise. Do take notes because I would like you to write down anything that is relevant to you. So if you're already doing it, it doesn't mean to you, don't write it. But anything which is an aha moment and you say, this is what I need to do, please make a note of it because at the end of this class, you will certainly have a few good lessons to go by. There's a virtual masterclass. Now, when I say masterclass, I mean that you are going to be taking notes, applying them in your life and aim at changing the way you do things. Because if you continue to do what you're doing, you will continue to get the results you're getting. And I'm sure you want to get better results. So when you want to get better results, you have to change the way you are working right now. The next point is I want you to play 100%, which means participate fully. Keep your fingers, you can do some exercise, keep them faster fingers first. The moment I say something, hit your chat box because today I'm in a format where I'm not able to see you. And I love to have webinars where we are all on videos and I create a lot of vibe with my audience. And today I'm doing a program called Hive, which is high impact virtual engagement. And I do a program called Train the Online Trainer with that in aim. So my style actually is to get a lot of interaction. And today I can only do it through the chat box, right? Now, the last thing is don't believe anything I say because what I'm going to say is my experience and my belief may not be the same as yours. So till it gets converted into your belief, till it gets converted into your resonance, don't take it. Then you can just discard that because some of the things that happen in my life may be different from you. And I respect that and I expect you to take what you think is good for you. Now we talk about managing time. And I want to ask you, can you really manage time? Can you slow it down? Can you fasten it? Can you stretch it? Can you contract it? Can you expand it? Can you change the way it goes? No. Time goes on ticking at the same speed. It never gets tired. It can't be reversed. It can't be stopped. It just carries on. And the best part is, it is a resource. It is a resource that we don't realize is equal. Your competitors, your bosses, your parents, your children, everyone has 86,400 seconds a day, no more, no less. You can be Trump, you can be a taxi driver. You still have 86,400 seconds. That is a resource which puts you on a level playing ground. And therefore, you can compete with your competitors. They may have more resources than you, but they don't have more time. And if you can capitalize on this resource, you have got a winning card in your hand. How many of you have a bank account? Now, a lot of people say that's a stupid question. And sure it is. It is a stupid question. But I still like to ask you and tell me in the chat box, how many of you have a bank account? Okay, I'm only getting the chat option. I'm not getting the, sorry. Okay, okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah, so I want to say this. How many of you have I suppose we all have. Okay, good. Right. You all have. I guess so. But still, I want you to vouch for yourself. How are you vouching for others, whether they have a bank account or not? And the next question is, whose money is there in that account? Please write whose money. Who does the money belong to? My money, mine. Of course, mine. Now, does anyone else put money in your account? If you have somebody, if you're lucky people, have somebody else putting money in your account? No. Yes, somebody, Vipul said yes. Vipul, husband. I wish my wife had a husband like yours. Okay, right. So, yeah, father, husband, there's some nice people who do it. But other than that, is there anyone else who puts money in your account? Shubha, employer. No way. No way. No employer in this world puts his money in your account. He puts your money in your account. When you earn it, the ownership changes. It is no longer the employer's money. Then it becomes yours. And then he transfers your money in your account. Right. Okay. So I'm going to make a statement, and I'm assuming that you know the meaning of if or suppose. So if I tell you suppose, I hope you're clear about the meaning of suppose. Suppose I transfer 10,000 dirhams, rupees, dollars, whatever, in your account every day. And I told you, suppose, I'm not going to do it for sure. But let's say 10,000 rupees get into your account every day with a condition that you are not going to have this tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, it'll become zero. It's a zero balance account. You don't have to maintain a minimum balance. But every day, I put 10,000 rupees. In the morning, they are not there. What would you do with that money? Please, one word. What would you do with that money? What would you do with that money in your bank account? Quick, I didn't find any answer coming. Invest, use it, spend, reinvest. Whatever you do, what do you do from the bank? You withdraw it. How many of you withdraw it? When you withdraw it, then whether you spend it, you reinvest it, that's a different matter. But technically, the first thing you do is withdraw. How many of you will withdraw it? Say me. And please tell me how much. So please say how much money will you withdraw? If you withdraw, how much will you? All of it. Will you leave something behind? Say 10 rupees, 100%, all. Everyone wants all. Look at the greed, all. Minimum balance is zero, 100%. Okay, very good. No use of leaving it behind. Yeah, very good. Take every bit of it. What about this account? Are you aware of this account? God gave us this account and said the same thing. I'm going to give you 86,400 seconds every day, and they'll not be available tomorrow. Now what do we do? Please write how many of you use every minute and don't waste anything. How many of you don't leave anything on the table? Do we all spend a lot? We leave a lot on the table. We are not even prepared to leave 10 rupees when it comes to time, but we are prepared easily to let that go. So I want you to do an exercise. How many of you are prepared to do that exercise, right? Yes, exercise, right? Exercise. How many of you are prepared to do that exercise for 30 days and report to me after 30 days the result of that exercise? I'll be very grateful if you do that. And that exercise is, you will start a notebook or a, something on your bedside table where you will write the date, and in front of the date, you will write the money you saved every day. You will equate 1 second equal to 1 rupee, 1 dirham, $1, whatever is your currency. Equate it in your mind. So let's say I'm talking of rupees, 86,400 rupees I get every day. At the end of the day, I'm just going to close my eyes just before I sleep and evaluate how much money did I save today. I'm not saying how much money did I waste today, because I don't want to look at that negativity. I want to concentrate on how much did I use? How much did I use? And it's going to be a very imaginative, subjective thing. So you'll say, oh, today that meeting didn't happen, or I got stuck in the traffic jam, or I made so many calls and nobody answered. So not a good day today. So maybe I used 60,000. The other day you can say, oh, today was very good. Today was very, very good. So 70,000. Today I went for sleep for 8 hours, but it was not a good sleep. I didn't really get good sleep. So you not spend that, you not invested that sleep time well. Okay. So that way you'll come to, and every day you will write down, at the end of the month, you will average it out. What is happening right now actually is that your conscious mind is turning it to a subconscious DNA, that you will start evaluating your time every day. And that is what I strongly believe. It's not about saving time. It's not about managing time. It's not about learning management tools. It is about being the person who will save time and invest it well. It is about becoming that individual who is determined to use this resource in the best possible way, and thereby increase a few years of your life. A nurse in a hospice, and I hope you know, hospice is a hospital where people with no hopes are kept to care for till they finally die. A nurse in a hospice once said that I have seen more than 2,000 people die. I haven't heard even one person, not even a single individual in my life I heard who said, I wish I had more money. But she said almost all of them, when they were dying, said, I wish I had more time. Guys, today, I wish to give you that gift of more time in your life. I want you to live a life when you are nearing that end, you go satisfied that I did what I wanted to do. I have invested my time well, right? Now, I say time management is dead. Digital disruption killed it. Time management, the way it was perceived by David Allen and all in early 1940s, was all about efficiency. It is a mechanical thing. You do things efficiently, save some time, and in that time, do some more work. In today's world, you save time, you use that for more work, and therefore multiply your stress levels. I would strongly encourage you to do the same, save some time and use it for leisure. Use it for something that you want to and don't get time. You want to do gardening, you want to do reading, you want to play golf, you want to spend time with your children. Save time and use it there, not for work, right? Because work is enough that you're doing in a day. Now we are going to talk about the subject of time management. And I strongly believe that there is nothing called time management. Time management would have been, if I told you like earlier, if you could slow down time, you say, okay, today I'll spend 23 hours and tomorrow I will do that. I'll save 1 hour for tomorrow. So tomorrow I want 25 hours because a lot of work tomorrow. Then it would be time management. It is simply life management. It is the way you manage yourself. You have to manage yourself and you have to manage your life. And let us go through a few things of how you do that. A simple definition of time is life. When you say I, I will talk to you for 5 minutes. Haven't you given 5 minutes of your life to the person you're talking? And do some people take away your time when they don't deserve it? Are you prepared to give your life to the people who don't deserve it? Can you please be a little more careful that your life is not here to be wasted on negativity, on unproductive stuff? And I'm not talking of unproductivity from money point of view. Anything that does not mean anything to you, doesn't have value, doesn't give you happiness, doesn't give you excitement. Something, you should gain something, whether it's sense of achievement, it's an aha moment. Gain something. My good friend Neeraj Shah, in a productivity workshop about 5 years back, taught me something which I've never forgotten, and I use it very, very effectively in my workshops. And that is, what is productivity? And he said it is the product of focus and energy with time. Now, time is a constant that can't change. Time is constant, but focus and energy used in a particular time will give you the productivity. If you don't focus and put all your energy, the result will be zero, because zero focus into whatever energy is zero. And if you put all the focus and zero energy, again, it will be zero. So please understand, and please take a note of this if you haven't. Apply it and let me know how it works for you. It has worked for thousands of people who have applied it and found very good results. So focus into energy and use it in proper time, and your productivity will go high. Now, guys, when I was in the army, and for me, life came in a different package. My parents were very, very particular about a routine. So all my life, right from my early childhood, there was a time to wake up, there was a time to sleep, there was a time to eat, there was a time for homework. I didn't have the luxury of doing what I wanted to when I wanted to. At the age of 10, I went to a boarding school in Sainik School, which is a military school in Kapurthala. And there it was a little tougher because the mother's love did not get mixed up with the discipline or the routine. So if I did want my breakfast a little later, my mother would probably go a little out of my father's discipline and give me breakfast even late. But Sainik School wouldn't do that. And then I went to NDA, became even tougher. And then the army, 34 years, it started getting tougher and tougher. And when I reached the army, I realized it was not managing my own time. I was also managing the time of my Jawans. And therefore, this thing became more and more conscious in me. And when I came into the corporate world and I was doing corporate training programs, I found that in all my team building programs, one thing that every company wanted was, sir, time management. And therefore, this started getting my fancy. For the last few years, I did a lot of research on this subject. I studied a lot on it. And then I wrote a book called $1 Million Second. Now, this book is a best-selling book, Gautam told you. And I have learned a lot from my guru called Brian Tracy. And I'm sure many of you know him. And he has very kindly endorsed this book, right? So this has been the result of my many years working on this subject, studying it consciously. And today I would like to share that with you. But before that, I want to tell you that this book is not a book. It has become the mission of my life. I am very keen to create a time-conscious society in the world. How many of you would be prepared to join me in this effort of turning the world into a time-conscious society? So I see Habibu saying yes, me. Sharad Agarwal saying me. Bipul saying me. Okay, Swapan, Nirmala, very good. I'm seeing a lot of people I know very well. Nirmala, Swapan, all my students, very good. Okay, Shreyash, Ganesh, all of them saying me. Yes, I'm already with you, Ganesh says. Thank you very much, Ganesh. Yes, I know. So I created this society called Time Investors League. And I have a WhatsApp group. Anyone who buys my book comes onto this society, onto this group. And we also have a Facebook page. And I've recently started adding also those people who do my time related workshops. So anyone who's done a program of mine also gets, so in to be a member of the Time Conscious Society, you have to either have read my book or attended my workshop. These are the two conditions, because I want people to understand the fundamentals before they just emotionally say, I want to be a member of the Time Investors League, because it's a serious business. It's not a joke. Now we are coming to crisis. And the whole idea today I'm talking about is how to handle time in crisis. Now, I was, as I told you, in February, I was in Dubai, and I did training of a company called Intertech there. And then I also attended a program which Gautam had introduced me to. And in that week, I did see that there was some talk. There were people wearing masks, some of them, which was not happening in India at that time. And then I was also hearing things, people saying something in China has happened, some coronavirus. And I also remember a discussion on the TV where people said, oh, thank God we are not involved. In India, the climate is such and our immunity levels are high. Oh, so we are out of it. Till we found in the month of March that, yes, we were also a party to that game. It was somewhere near 17th of March when Gautam and I were having a conversation. And because I'm a very proud speaker of Right Selection on the panel, and Gautam is such a wonderful person, not only professionally, but also become a very close friend, because he does not operate from just a business angle. He strongly believes in relationships, and that is what his new book is about. His book is Breaking the Bread, building long-term relationships for a successful business. So I told Gautam, I said, now you have cancelled your Marshall Goldsmith, you've got your Ron Kaufman not coming. What are you going to do? Because your business all around speaking events and they're not happening. So he said, yeah, I'm just wondering what to do. And yeah, so I said, why don't we get into webinars? I said, but I have not done one. I said, yeah, I have done some webinars. Let's do one webinar this Sunday. He said, are you crazy? There are 3 days left and we don't have time for marketing and all. And I told Gautam something which was absolutely out of a impulsive thing. I don't even know how and why I said it. But I said, Gautam, this may not be a perfect webinar, but it'll be a timely webinar. And we did that. On 22nd March, we did our first webinar. Guys, on 21st evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was very kind to us. He announced a Janta curfew on 22nd. We had the whole country's attention to us. And we realized that this was a beautiful opportunity. Now we can get more people. Gautam started telling me, hey, we are getting more registrations. And my Zoom account had 100 people. I changed over that account overnight to 500 people. We had 350 registrations and we had 250 people on the call. Sorry, 150 people on the call, right? Lots of people wrote to us that we couldn't log in. So they wanted some material. We sent them our recordings, but that was a great beginning. And today is my 74th webinar. Of course, I've done many more virtual engagements. So it's more than 100. Now, what happened, I want to tell you. When I came back from Dubai and I saw my training programs getting cancelled, Gautam's speaking engagements getting cancelled, then I have some very good friends who are global speakers, James Taylor. He came out with a webinar once and said all speaking gigs are getting cancelled. I got down with my team and said we have to reset our goals. Whatever goals we had set for June, July were all going out. All our booked training and speaking assignments were getting cancelled. So we had to do something. So we realized that we have to handle crisis, and we immediately came on to and started announcing webinars. For good 1 month, 30 odd webinars were free. We were also in a mood to give to the public because situation in the world was such. And then I started getting corporate training calls. There was a jewelry company who first came in. They asked for one webinar. We did 12 in a series. And I started not only getting busy, but I also started making money. And my financial goals were soon becoming a reality. It took me about 2 months. By the end of June, I was almost in a 3x state. I was making 3 times more money than I was making in the month of January, February. Why? Because I handled that crisis in time. Other people kept thinking about it. Tony Robbins says, think and act in that sequence. He says, don't act and think. You can't reverse the situation. But you act. He says people keep thinking too much and they don't act. So the emphasis here, and why I shared this with you, was how when you are in crisis, time becomes the most important factor. So when you get into a crisis, there are 5 things that happen generally in all crises, small or big. Whether you miss a flight or lose your keys or whatever crisis, they come with these. One, it breaks a pattern. There's a normal pattern, that pattern gets broken, so you get a surprise. Second is there seems to be a loss of hope. Uncertainty seems to be hovering around. They all come with a certain amount of stress, and they all demand quick decision. They all demand quick decision. You can't be pending decisions when there's a flood, there's an earthquake. You can't say, "Main soch ke bataunga." There's no time for that, right? So have you ever felt that your life is all about juggling balls, that you're juggling so many activities together? If you're all juggling all the time, please write juggling. How many of you think you're juggling with time all the time? You're juggling between your family time, your professional time, juggling all the time. Vipul says yes. Sharad says yes, juggling. Okay, very good. Rakesh says juggling. Very good. Isn't it a race against time? Even today, what we are doing, let's say we are all racing against time. We are all talking of flattening the curve. It's all about a race against how quickly can you get your infrastructure, that dotted line, how quickly can you get it in place and stop the spike of positive cases, because anyone who gets affected with the virus brings 8 to 10 more people, and therefore it grows in geometrical progression. So to stop that, we are all racing against time. And I think nowhere in my life, at least, was a global awareness of time as much evident as it is today. Today, then I'm going to tell you the 5 keys to encash a crisis. How do you come out of this crisis? I have many more, but I've chosen 5 because we have a short time today. So 5 keys I'm going to tell you, and they're the most important ones. This is the time to pick up your pen and paper and write what is relevant to you. And you will find that most of them are something that you either didn't hear earlier or did not understand them the way I'm going to tell you. The first one is knowing your hourly worth. Are you aware of the value of your 1 hour? And this worth is not rupees. It's not dirhams. It is not dollars. It is the subjective value of your hour. How happy do you feel when you invest your time properly? Right? Now, there's no way of measuring that. How do I measure my happiness? There isn't a way. So just to do that, Brian Tracy came out with this idea, and it is his definition that hourly worth is a product of yearly income divided by the number of hours you work in a year. In America, they say divided by 2,000 because an average American works for 2,000 hours in a year. But if you want to be more accurate, you can work out the number of hours you work in your weekdays, then in your holiday, or sorry, on a Sunday or a weekend. And then that becomes weekly. And instead of multiplying by 52, deduct the number of holidays, whether you take a vacation or your gazetted holidays, and that would probably give you the number of hours. Can some of you please work out your hourly worth quickly and write down in the chat box, what is your hourly worth? Now, sometimes I'm talking to students. I'm talking to people who are working in companies, and they say, my hourly worth is fixed. I can't do anything about it. And I said, no. Now write your desired hourly worth. Okay, my hourly worth today is 1,000. I want to convert it into 1,500. That is where now the challenge comes, and that gets embedded in your goals. Your goal could be that I will increase my hourly worth from 1,000 to 1,500. And how do you do it? There are three options, only three options. One is increase your yearly income. The second is decrease the number of hours you work in a day. And third is do both of them simultaneously. So an ideal goal would be that I'll increase my hourly worth from 1,000 to 1,200 and decrease the number of hours I work from 8 hours to 6 hours. And that could give you excitement in life. The second one we come to is roti. And this is certainly not the roti that came to your mind, which is there on the screen. I am talking of a different roti, and this is return on time invested. What is the return on your time invested? This does not again come in rupees or currency. It comes in subjective ways. But again, I need to measure it. So what I do is I work out a system of asking myself, create a matrix out of it. So if I have an event, I say, how was that event for me? I create a matrix. You could do it 1 on 10. I do it 1 on 4, 0 to 4. If it was absolutely a useless thing, you went for a meeting, you went for a webinar, you went for something, you went for a wedding, useless, didn't enjoy it all, there was nobody there, it was chaotic, I didn't meet my friends, useless. One is if it was useful, but not worth my time. I could have rather been in the office, I could have rather slept for a while. 2 is when it's average. I just got the value of my time. It was okay. I have nothing to complain. It was okay. I got my value. 4 is when I gained more than what I spent. Oh, that was beautiful. I got more. I didn't expect all to happen. And 4th is, of course, balle balle. Excellent. Really enjoyed it. It was amazing. So at the end of this exercise, I'm also going to ask you what is your roti. So please be prepared mentally to tell me how was this investment of your time today. This one is a most important one. And I've had a friend of mine called Michael Podolinsky, who based out of Singapore, an American. He's a productivity guru of Asia. And he says that he has done 37 years of productivity workshops in 37 countries. And when I got talking to him on this, when we met in a boot camp in Goa, he said, Sushil, I never heard of this. Thank you. And I've learned this from you. Can I use it in my workshops? And I said, I'll be so privileged. He said, I'll take your name. I'll say that I learned it from Sushil. And we got a video on this on YouTube as well. When for 22 minutes, we have a conversation on the value of time as seen by Michael Podolinsky. Right. Now, what does this mean? So I've been asking, in my workshops, in my master classes, I've asked many CEOs or MDs, how much time are you responsible for to your company? Your accountability, how much time? And normally the answer would be 8 hours. And then I say, how many people do you have in your company? And let's say, assume they say 1,000 hours. I say, how much time do each one of your people have to spend on the company's work? So answer is 8 hours. So I said, are you responsible for 8 hours, or are you responsible for 8,000 hours in a day? And I've really speaking never got an answer right. Everyone talks about his personal time and nobody takes the responsibility or accountability of the time of his entire company. Tell me, guys, when you employ a person, in real terms, haven't you bought his 8 hours of time? Say yes or no. Haven't you, really speaking, bought his 8 hours of time? Yes. Yes. Amir says yes. Rakesh says yes. Yeah. You have bought his 8 hours of time. But that guy is working 4 hours. Are you getting your money's worth? He's spending 8 hours in the office doing 4 hours work and 4 hours he's wasting. He's on Facebook and Instagram. He's on telephone calls, attending to his personal things. So therefore, I come with a formula and say, I will take on the responsibility of teaching or training or coaching this CEO to improve his productivity from 4 to, let's say, 5 hours. And I will also do in the same workshop, same master class, his business head or a functional head, all people who are first level reportees to him. So let's say I work on these 4 people and improve their productivity by 10, 20%, which is very, very easy to do. More than 20% is tougher, but 20% is very, very easy. Tell me in the chat box, what do you think would be the repercussion or the effect of this on the levels below? Can you please write down and let me know? Write in the chat box, what would be the effect on other people? The people below this. 80% compounding effect. Yes. So now, don't you think if these 4 people's productivity goes up, they would also be indirectly, directly getting the productivity of their people below higher? Because I've gotten them into their conscious mind. They are now evaluating their time. Will they not evaluate the time of their team? Will they not encourage them? Will they not motivate them? Will they not inspire them? Will they not teach them? This is what I call compounding of time. Guys, I can turn the turnover of a company by a good percentage without your investing a penny on any extra resources. You would probably save on your manpower. I'm already doing a very interesting case study and example with my friend Dr. Arunagiri in his company called Pacific. And I'll soon have some figures to tell you how much exactly. Because earlier we have done, but we have not measured. Now I'm doing a case study and measuring it. The next one we are talking about is surfing the time wave. As I told you, a time wave also has a pattern like any other thing. You know, so time wave, a tide goes up and down. When there's a high tide, it goes higher. When there's a low tide, it goes lower. But the pattern remains the same. It goes up and down. But what happens when a tsunami comes? What happens when a storm comes? The pattern is broken. And that is what happens in a crisis. The pattern is broken. Coronavirus came and broke the pattern in the entire world of the way we work. Nobody had done work from home the manner in which we are doing right now. You may have worked from home, but the whole world was not working from home. If you were working from home, you were handling your team, 20 people sitting in one room. Today, you have 20 people sitting in 20 different offices. So it's a different ball game. So what happens is, I want to show you through a video. So please permit me to show you this video. And please confirm if you can hear the sound. Is it audible? In your life, are you going to surf the time wave? Are you going to be riding the time wave, or are you going to be ridden by the time wave? Are you going to allow the time wave to take over you, or you will keep control? Are you driving the life of your car with you on the steering wheel? Are you controlling it, or are you letting your life control you? Sharad says, ride the time wave. Yes, all those. Hopefully surf. Why hopefully? Rakesh, it is up to you. You are the owner of that thought. Nobody else decides what you are going to do. So you have to say, yes, I will. So now I see Sunita saying surf and Ali Amir saying surf. Very good. So that is what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to relate this to your real time. So what happens in your life is there's a time wave that you have. And the time wave is, let's say that on the x-axis, you have got the time of the day going by, starting from the morning, let's say, to the evening. And on the y-axis is your productivity or the time that you're spending, the value that you're getting in that time. So all of us are wired in a way that some people work the best in the morning, some people work in the evening. So let's say you are a fan of Tony Robbins or Robin Sharma and come with a 5 a.m. club and you get up at 5 a.m. and 5 to 8 is your best time. So that would what I call your prime time. Mine is at night. I would probably work from 10 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning and get up at what 7:38. That is the way I work. So everyone has his own. Whatever is your prime time, please write it down. Write down your time and say, this is my prime time. Then there are times when you have done a lot of serious work and you get exhausted. And now your energy levels are coming down. So call that your down slope. If you come to some a time of your day when it's really bad, your energy is almost down to minimum. Call that the trough, that your energy has gone into a trough. And then if you do something about it, energize yourself some way or the other, then you will come to upslope. What you do today now, please listen to me carefully. When you schedule your day, whatever is your prime time, put all your priority jobs. If you have watched that video or you have seen the jar of life where a professor puts all the big rocks in the jar and talks about is the jar full. So you know that if you put water first, then there will be no place for your big rocks. So the big rocks is what you put in your prime time. The most important things, your proposals, your articles, you're writing a book, something which requires your attention 100%. That is the time you put your mobile phone away, you put your social media away, you just concentrate and use your prime time. Downtime is where you do some routine jobs. You're paying your bills, you're answering telephone calls, checking your mail, etc. Let's say by the end, say in the afternoon, you have done a lot of this work, your prime time is over, your downslope also, you've been very tired, and now you take a lunch break, or you take a nap, or you go for a walk, you go for a smoke, you listen to music, whatever you do to, take a break, charge yourself up, and then you come to the upslope. And in the upslope, you do your second priority jobs. They're not the routine jobs of making telephone calls and checking mails. They're not the type of tasks where involve a lot of hard work and a lot of focused work. And now you can start doing those secondary jobs, which are important, but not as important, right? So this is the way you manage your time wave. The last one I'm talking about is entrepreneurship of time. What does an entrepreneur do? I told you right in the beginning, he invests the minimum resources to get the best results. Can you do the same with your time? Can you invest the minimum time and get maximum output, right? So here I come to the end of my 5 keys. Please tell me, how were those keys? Did you find them useful? Please write in the chat box, what did you feel about these 5 keys? Useful, not useful? I'm not, balle balle somebody says, oh, very good. Great, big, useful, wonderful, very useful. Thank you very much. That is encouraging. I start getting a feeling that I did not waste your time. Okay. Now guys, the vision is to get into Investors League, and I'm looking forward to more people joining me in that league. So you need to buy my book, you need to do my workshops, you need to be in connect with me so that allow me to help you make your life worth more than what it is today. Okay. So can you all write in the chat box your 3 major takeaways? What was it in this that appealed to you the most? I would like to spend another 1 or 2 minutes in this. Think and act. Okay, good. So anything like this, yeah. So Sharad says think and act. What was it that invest time? Okay, very good. So Rakesh says invest time. He understood that word invest and not spend time. Gurpreet says the same thing. F into T into, F into E into T is equal to productivity, surf the wave, think and act, the 5 keys. Time is life, compounding of time. Maqsood says that, very good. Roti. Trisha, I hope you know the right roti. You're not the roti with the bread, because that is breaking the bread with Gautam. That is the English bread, and and the roti is the Indian bread. Okay, great. Good. Focus, energy, and time is product. $1,000,000 second. Who says that? Bratati Datta. I'm very happy that my $1,000,000 second title gets absorbed and fascinated. Right, guys. So now I want to come to the next question and says, how many of you would like to learn more about what I said? How many of you think that this subject needs a little more attention than what we pay to it? So how many of you would be interested in learning more? So Vipul says me, Dilip says certainly me, Sunita Jain says, Sunita Jhan, okay. And then Trisha, yes, okay, interested. So I'm going to be telling you that I do a masterclass on crisispreneurship on time, and I call it CPOT, right? This program, it covers 4 major elements, 4 major modules. The first thing is self-management. I don't think anything on time will matter till as I said earlier, can you become the person? Can you first change yourself to say, why do I want to do it? Get your why clear here. You know, become that individual who really wants to do it, who's absolutely hell-bent upon doing it. I learned this the first time from Jack Canfield, you know, and he's so profound in his success principles, and each one of them really is a pearl, is a gem. So self-management is the first module where we first prepare the ground. It is something like gardening. That is the place where I till the soil and make it ready for germinating of a seed. Because if I try and I sow a seed on the road, it'll never grow. It'll never germinate. So I need to first prepare the soil. This is preparing the soil. Second is time consciousness. I still haven't come to time management. I want you to now get into that mental state of telling yourself every day, hey, that's a resource I can't waste. Hey, that's more important than money. And that is the thing which I want you to do with your family, with your buddies, with your colleagues, where you remind each other, hey, you're wasting time. Don't waste my time. Right? Okay. The third one is goal management in uncertain times. Now, when we talk of goal management, I cover not even 40% of the time on going through what have been goal management principles since time immemorial. You can't change them. But then I give them a different flavor now, and I call them direct goals. Okay. And direct goals are a modern way of thinking, how can I add a flavor of, and you know, direct is an acronym. Are your goals dream-based? Are they inspiration-based? Are they resource-based? Are they energy-based? And are they time-based? Okay, so the direct becomes, you interject that into your already made goals and refine them. And in the end, we talk about the main result that we want to get out of it is profitability. And this comes through productivity. And we then, all the 3 modules put together actually now get you the results. We have a beautiful workbook design. You have to enter everything in the workbook, and it remains your life's journal, reflective journal, where you get a great idea. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I come to the end of my presentation. And before I go, I can't stop thanking you for the 3,600 seconds that you invested in yourself and gave me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you. So here is a gift. It'll be in the chat box, the link. Otherwise, you can just copy it. It's a bit.ly link, MDS Doodles. This is my book, $1 Million Second, in a visual format. So Vijaya Suvarna is a lady who's been very kind to me. She has made doodles. Every chapter is on 1 page of a visual. So in there are 10 chapters, or in 10 pages, you get an idea of what the book is like, right? So I have finished. Thank you very much. And over to Gautam.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Sushil, for your inspirational session and sharing your wonderful experience over the years, not only from your personal experience, but obviously your learnings from all the great global thought leaders. So thank you for your valuable time. I think we've used up most of your 3,600 seconds that you kindly shared with us today. However, I will take two questions before I invite Sharad Agarwal back on the virtual platform. So the first question I have for you, Brigadier Sushil, is from Ali Amir Ali, which is, how do I strike a balance between work and family life?
Very good. So now it is a priority, and there is a beautiful focus funnel, which I talk about in my workshops, and some of you must have already gone through it. It is a funnel by Rory Vaden. And if you write back to me, I will send you a little note on that, which you can see in your own time. Also on my YouTube channel, Focus Funnel is one of my videos. But what is it? Amir Ali, is that question from?
Yes, Ali Amir Ali.
Ali Amir Ali. Okay, so Ali, what I want to tell you is, you have to decide your priorities. Whether your family is a priority or work is your priority, and which one is more, which one is less. Now that nobody can tell you. But what you need to do is, you need to have a discipline and say that this is my family time, and in that family time, you do nothing else. Right? I can also share with you, and only those who want, I've got a peg system where on a simple Excel sheet, you have to peg it down and say, this is my time for this activity and this activity. So it's not only family and work, but I also say, time between your friends, your personal development. I invest a certain amount of time in my day on my personal development. Every day, I spend about 2 hours in either reading or watching YouTube videos which are related to my work. So that is my self-development time. Family time, your physical exercise time, your friends' time, your socializing time, and time on social media. Something that all of us are struggling, because we always slip and spend more time on social media than what we should be doing. So that's the way I would look at focusing. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much, Brigadier. I'll just take 300 more seconds to ask you the balance two questions we have. I like this one, which is from Nirmala. How do we help our kids to use time wisely in the information world that we now live in? Over to you, Brigadier.
Thank you very much, Nirmala. That's a very good question and very simple as well. See, right from the time a child is born, as if you firstly set an example that he or she sees what you're doing in your life. Are you punctual? Are you valuing time? Are you not wasting people's time? The child will learn on its own. And second is, keep guiding the child as he grows up. I told you my parents did that. And they didn't do workshops, and they were not educated to do that. But I think they came from their own personal example that they taught me. Nothing is better than setting an example, because children don't listen to you. They observe you and they do what you do. So if you can do it, they'll do it.
Thank you, Brigadier Sushil. The next one is from Balakrishnan Ramanathan. How to build the stronger community to handle the diverse threats like day-to-day life practices during this crisis time?
Very good. Balakrishnan, this is another question that is very pertinent today. So it is basically a realization in the community where all of us get together and work on a common cause, bring this time consciousness that I'm talking about, that everyone understands the value of time. And a very, very important thing which relates to all the questions and even the questions which you haven't asked is self-discipline. None of this, no goal setting, no time management can be done unless you get your act right on what I say is self-discipline. And what is self-discipline? It's got a very clear definition. And I know that most of you don't know what is self-discipline. Even if you say, I know it, please compare it with this definition. Self-discipline is doing what you ought to do. Okay, we all know what you ought to do. Doing what you ought to do when A, nobody's watching me, and B, when I don't feel like doing it. Self-discipline is doing what you ought to do when nobody is watching me and I don't feel like doing it. My mood. I don't feel like going to the gym. And you get up and Tony Robbins says, take the first baby step. And the first baby step is wear your shoes. Because nobody wears the shoes and then goes back to bed. So take your first baby step. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier Sushil. Before I ask you the very last question, there's suddenly a flood of many questions coming in. So what I've done for participants on the webinar we have now, I've shared Brigadier Sushil's LinkedIn profile and mine. You can feel free to either comment on onlywebinars.com and ask your questions on their LinkedIn profile. You can also reach out to Brigadier Sushil directly with your questions. He'll be more than happy to answer your questions and help you in your journey of success. So please do connect with Brigadier Sushil, myself, and obviously do share your questions online or with Only Webinars, and we'll be delighted to share those answers online with you via LinkedIn. So Brigadier Sushil, to ask you the final question, which seems a very popular one. It is sometimes circumstances overpower the time that one has, and the whole chain gets disrupted. How does one manage this?
Absolutely. See, everything is not in my control. So if I'm stuck in a traffic jam and I'm now going to go to a meeting late, obviously it is going to upset my routine. So this is what I learned in the army. It's called contingency planning. So if I know, and I've trained myself, if there is because you see, that is not a crisis. It's not a crisis that I can't imagine. I can't say that I didn't know there'll be a traffic jam. So can I go prepared that if there's a traffic jam, I'll do this. So for example, every time I get into a place where either I have to wait, I go for a meeting and the person whom I have to meet is busy in another meeting, and somebody comes and says, sorry, sir, can you please wait for 10 minutes? I think the meeting is just getting over. And that happens with all of us. Can you go around shout and say, no, now you have wasted my time? No, you can't do that. So that is the time when you get onto your phone. Luckily today we have a tool in our pocket all the time. So you can clear your messages, you can clear your memory, you can do, in a daily task, I have to do so many likes on Facebook. So you can do that right now, like on Facebook, like on LinkedIn. Wo kar lo jitna kaam karna hai, whatever you want to do. Have your contingency plans and do those things which you're going to do otherwise later, do them now. Now that is what you can do. And something which you can't do, then Gita says, jo hai, so hai. Please go by what is, accept the fact, embrace the reality. And in my time management workshops and all, I always talk about something called white spaces. That when you plan your day, there are some places which are unforeseen. You can't help it. Now I can do something which is in my control. How can I do something which is not in my control? So for that, keep some open spaces, and every day you know that I have to cater for some things which will not go by my way. Something unforeseen happens, electricity went off, or right at the time, I'm telling you, I was getting ready for a party, and I absolutely had to be ready on time. And when I looked into the mirror, I found that there was something that I needed to do. So I started trimming my hair, and somewhere that scissor went onto my nose and it started bleeding. I was 10 minutes late. Can I help it? Can I go bleeding in the party? So things beyond me that happened. So then, when the situation takes over, is a question of how you handle it as quickly as possible. Damage control. Can I get ready in 10 minutes or can I get ready late? And let me tell you a very quick story. I came to Bombay about 5 years back, 5 years before I left the army, and I wanted to then open a school. So I wanted to go and visit the Dhirubhai Ambani school because it was in limelight on being one of the best schools. I took an appointment with the principal, who was a very senior lady and very difficult to get an appointment with her. I was new to Bombay. There were no Olas and Ubers. There was no GPS. So I was told by my cousin it'll take about 1 hour. So I took 1.5 hours before I took a cab, but the traffic was unprecedented. So I got stuck on the highway. The cab wouldn't move forward. I picked up the phone and rang this lady and I said, ma'am, I'm so sorry. And that's what I do. If I'm getting late, at least I tell you I'm coming late. You can, you can at least readjust your time. I said, I'm sorry, I'm getting late. I'll not be able to reach on time because there's traffic. She says, no problem, Brigadier, you can take your time. If you come at 10 o'clock, you get 30 minutes because your slot is 10 to 10:30. If you come at 10:10, you'll get 20 minutes. If you come at 10:20, you'll get 10 minutes. And if you come at 10:30, my other meeting would have started, which means then you can get out. I asked the driver to take a U-turn and go back home. There was no way. But I learned a lesson of my life that time. If I need to go for that appointment, I might as well make sure that even if I go half an hour earlier, I'll go. And then half an hour in a waiting room, I'll go and do some tasks which are planned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brigadier. Even though we're 12 minutes over time, the good news is that 93% of the participants have stayed on. So that speaks leaps and bounds of the value that you've provided, even in the Q&A. And on a closing note for myself, it's been an absolute pleasure knowing Brigadier over the last year, especially worked very closely with him. He's a man of great wisdom, but above all, he's a person who inspires and he helps you to take action. For me, this time of crisis means opportunity. I've released my book, Breaking Bread, and I'm super excited because this last 4 months, whilst I've been in lockdown, it's actually been the most productive time in my 25 years in career. I've hosted over 25 events virtually, which we'd never have done in a physical year. So to me, crisis means opportunity. My closing words from my side on behalf of myself and Right Selection are the great words of wisdom from my father. He said, whenever you go through a challenge, surround yourself with the right people, continuously learn, and take massive action. On behalf of Right Selection, thank you. I now hand over to the CEO of onlywebinars.com, Mr. Sharad Agarwal. Over to you.
Thanks, Gautam. Very tough to add to what Brigadier Bhasin has already said, and I loved your closing remarks as well. My closing remarks are very simple. Tough times don't last forever. Tough people do. So let's toughen up and let's be the survivors. I want to thank all participants for investing their 74 minutes with us today. I hope there were a lot of learnings, a lot of takeaways. And finally, thank you, Brigadier Sushil Bhasin, for investing your time with us. Thank you, Gautam, for moderating this webinar. Thank you, all participants from across the globe for joining in. Stay safe and stay tuned to onlywebinars.com for some more webinar announcements coming soon. Thank you and have a safe day. Bye.
Thank you.